Personally, I'm very, very happy to be in this event. For me, it's a kind of a dream come true. My team will tell you that one of my first questions when I joined the Innovation Authority a little bit more than a year ago was, do we have a climate tech plan? And some of the things that you're going to see now are actually a result of that question. So let's talk about a little bit about the climate for innovation in Israel. First of all, we all talk about net zero by 2050. When you look upon the numbers, you might get depressed. Look at the numbers. The population of the world is going to grow by almost 25%. Life expectancy is going to grow as well. So population density is going to become worse than today.
Sounds like
number of cars, 70% growth. And GDP is expected to double itself by 2050. So how do you get to net zero in such a short while supporting such economic growth and population growth? This is a really gigantic, complex problem. And obviously, technology is not the only answer to this problem. The government has a role as regulator, us as consumer have a role. But I think that technology is certainly one of the most prominent leverages that humanity have in order to solve this problem. And since I'm an optimistic person, I believe it will be solved. So let's talk a little bit about climate tech. What is climate tech? Some can claim it's just a branding of an area that was there all the time. So we define climate tech as technologies that either help reduce gas emissions, what we call mitigation, or help humanity get adapted to climate warming or global warming, which we call adaptation. And anything that falls under these two categories for us is climate tech. What is included in that? Well, obviously, there are technologies which are very clearly related to climate, like, I don't know, emissions monitoring and weather forecast. I don't know if you saw just the headlines this morning about a very significant exit of a company called Brizometer that is giving recommendations to people where the air is good and where it's not, so they can do what they need to do. So this is certainly a climate tech company. But also in clusters of the high tech, which in the past we didn't consider as climate tech, we now look at them a little bit different. Let's take, for example, transportation. In transportation, you can talk about things which are innovative but don't contribute to climate tech, like, for instance, autonomous driving. But you can also think about inventions that help prevent emissions, like going to electric vehicles. So in each cluster, we can mark which companies are contributing to the fight against climate warming and which are don't. And all of those, this circle in the middle that you see, all of this is what we define as climate tech. Now, climate tech or climate technologies, the demand for it is going to grow tremendously. I think that anyone that is somehow related to the area knows that all governments, all corporates, everyone is looking for technology solutions for this problem. And you can see here one survey that is showing the numbers expected by 2030. The numbers are a little bit imaginary, but regardless what would be the exact number, I think that we can all agree that the numbers are going to be huge. The demand is going to be very great. And this is something that after I asked the question about do we have a climate tech plan, I was asking myself, how come there is such an unsolvable problem from one side, and a lot of money from the other side, a lot of demand, and yet I don't see entrepreneurs, Israeli entrepreneurs, creating a lot of ventures. Typically, this is what Israeli entrepreneurs like. They like mission impossible to solve, and they like to see that there is going to be a big market. And then this is why we decided to do with PLANETech the survey last year, and we were quite surprised to find the amount of startups and companies that are already working in this domain in Israel. Just to give you a little bit of just the notion of the numbers, you can see that there are already some clusters in which there is a lot of activity. Climate smart agriculture, clean energy, sustainable mobility and transportation, alternative proteins, the minister just spoke about it, water infrastructure, novel materials. So in all these clusters, we already have in Israel very vibrant activity of startups and companies, and this is only the start. As Uriel shared with you already, the investments are already jumping, and you can see here the jump between 2019 to 2020 3 times, and then another big growth into 2021, and I hope to finish this year even higher than last year, despite the conditions in the market. So this is certainly a good trend. By the way, you can see in the pink in 2021 the jump that we had in the alternative proteins cluster, which Israel is leading in the world. This is the place I want to talk a little bit about our role and what is our mission for those of you in the audience coming from abroad and not aware with the activities of the Innovation Authority. Our mission in life is to increase the competitiveness of the Israeli Innovation Hub. We do that in 3 ways. 1, direct investments in R&D projects in the industry. We are looking for high risk, with a groundbreaking innovation that the private sector is finding hard to invest in. This is exactly the profile we invest in. So come forward, suggest your projects, and we will be happy to fund them for you. The second way in which we fulfill our role is gearing up for emerging technologies. Whatever emerging technologies that we identify for the next 5-10 years, we invest in developing the research, the labs, the human capital, etc. So when entrepreneurs would like to create their ventures, it will already exist in the ecosystem. And the last but not least, we perceive our role as advisors to the overall government when a new technology is coming, to help the regulators understand the technology, what are the benefits, what are the risks, how they can take it step by step into the local market, and why this is so important for climate tech. Climate tech, unlike areas in which the Israeli high-tech excels in, like fintech and cyber and so forth, climate tech needs real pilot sites in the tangible world, not in the software world. And without our partners, like the Ministry of Environmental Protection, we will not be able to fulfill what we want to. We need also to enable the right regulation, the right pilot sites, and so forth. Just to give you the notion of how much we invest every year, about $500 million is invested in R&D projects, additional $300 million in R&D projects which is bilateral or multilateral, and this is actually makes us the largest investment fund in the country in early stage ventures. What did we do so far in the area of climate tech? In the last few years, we've invested about $250 million in climate tech ventures. Out of those 600 or 70 or 700 companies that you saw before, something like 40 or 50% of them got funding from the Innovation Authority. Applied research, climate tech problems are very difficult, are very complex. Without academic research, they will not be solved. So this is why we are sponsoring a lot of applied research, which is done between the Israeli academia and the Israeli industry together in order to commercialize knowledge which is created in the universities and the research institutes. Incubators, we have already 7 incubators across the country, from Kiryat Shmona to Yerucham, that are dealing with climate tech challenges. Manufacturing industries, I think the minister spoke about the challenge for the industry. How do you take traditional industries and plants and how do you transform them to net zero plants? And this is also something that we support. Pilots and advanced regulation, I already explained. Human capital. By nature, those problems are coming, the solution will come from multiple disciplines. Today, in the academy, every discipline is very siloed, very vertical. So we also engage in creating the right human capital that will be able to solve these multidisciplinary problems. International activities, obviously the ecosystem in Israel will not be able to solve the problem alone. We are reaching out to many countries and to lots of international programs in order to collaborate and solve together this humongous problem for humanity. But all of that was in the past. This is when climate tech was a hobby for us. Today, it's becoming a profession. As the Honorable Minister just updated you, a few weeks ago, the government approved a strategic plan on how to stimulate the Israeli climate tech ecosystem, and at the same time, not less important, to reach net zero emissions in Israel. And those two objectives are tied in, because we need places to test and pilot the technologies in order to make them competitive to go out for the global markets. I will not go into all the details, but this is a very comprehensive plan of all the ministries of the government, together with the Innovation Authority, tackling all aspects of what you need in order to create a global leading ecosystem in the country, from knowledge and research, growing startups and funding R&D projects, pilots and integration in the country, international collaboration. But I can tell you I'm very excited and also very happy to see the great collaboration between the government agencies and government ministries in order to accomplish this plan. The amount is not less important. We forecast an investment of $1 billion over the 5 coming years, in the areas of climate technologies. This is a very big number, and we will invest it under one condition: if we find excellent ventures here in the ecosystems, in the ecosystem to invest in. So just to sum up, climate challenge is the most significant challenge the world is facing today. I'm sure all the people in this audience will agree with that. It is also an economical opportunity. For sure, the companies, the ventures, the entrepreneurs, the investors that will create the ventures and finance the ventures will reap great economic value if the venture succeeds. We in the local ecosystem have a lot of assets in order to be in the forefront of climate tech innovation. And I think that the governmental strategic plan is really a good start and a good boost to what is already going in the country. I hope that, 10 years from now, all of us will meet again, probably in a larger hall, and we'll say that today, this day, we have started a great revolution for Israel and for the world. Thank you very much.